In the dim, oppressive glow of a secluded room, the air hung heavy with unspoken malice. Whispers, sharp and precise, sliced through the thick silence as a secret meeting unfolded. Shadowy figures, their faces obscured by the ambient gloom, huddled together, their voices hushed, their eyes alike with a shared sinister purpose. They believed their words, their calculated machinations, would never leave those four walls, that their malevolent plots would remain locked away in the impenetrable darkness. Cloaked in an almost arrogant secrecy, they meticulously discussed every calculated move, every twist of their sinister plan aimed directly at you. They never suspected, not for a moment, that fate, with its often unseen hand, was already at work. Every insidious detail, every veiled threat, every chilling aspiration was overheard by an unseen ear, a silent observer whose presence would set into motion a chain of events the conspirators could never have anticipated. The stakes were impossibly high, the intentions of this clandestine group darker and more chilling than the moonless night outside. And as the conspirators finally dispersed, their steps confident and unhurried, they remained blissfully unaware. Their carefully laid plans had already been set into motion, but not in the direction they intended. Instead, they were hurtling toward the authorities. This wasn't merely a meeting, it was the igniting of a ticking time bomb, and the fuse had been lit. The police were now in the loop, armed with knowledge the plotters thought was theirs alone, and the entire game had irrevocably changed. What was meant to stay buried forever in the comforting embrace of darkness was now on a fast track to glaring exposure, and the unyielding truth was closing in from all sides, tightening its grip. They believed their words were safe, locked away securely in the shadows, but they had no clue those very words had already escaped, carried on the air to someone who had been listening from the very beginning. Your name was the first to surface in their hushed conversation, mentioned casually at first, almost harmlessly, but the tone quickly gained a heavier, more ominous edge. Again and again your name echoed through the confined space, each repetition dripping with more venom, more focused intent. This wasn't just idle conversation or the venting of frustrations. It was a cold, precise blueprint for your destruction, mapped out with chilling accuracy. The conspirators strategized your takedown with the methodical precision of seasoned military tacticians. Each move was deliberate, each step chillingly calculated. Would they attempt to frame you, to paint you as the villain, manipulating those around you, to turn against you with subtle lies? Would they sabotage your work, quietly steal your credit, and block your progress while pretending to be your staunchest allies? Or was this something far deeper, something inherently criminal? Fraud, theft, blackmail? There was no hesitation in their voices, only a chilling, unwavering confidence, as if this was just another routine job, another name to casually cross off their list of targets. Then came the crucial shift. They crossed an irreversible line without even realizing it. Another name was mentioned, someone vulnerable, who could be easily manipulated. And in that very moment, a damaging, irreversible lie was crafted on the spot, designed to ensnare this unwitting pawn. They weren't just talking anymore, they were actively plotting a crime, weaving a narrative of deceit that would ensnare innocent parties. One particular phrase, uttered with a cold certainty, sealed their fate. It expressed a clear intent with absolutely no room for denial. There would be no talking their way out of this, if it ever came to light. Because this wasn't just idle chatter, this was damning evidence, proof of their criminal conspiracy. They even laughed, treating your anticipated downfall as a macabre joke, speaking carelessly, with no fear or second guessing, fully believing their intricate plan was untouchable, flawless. But they had no idea someone else was present, hidden in plain sight, hearing absolutely everything. Their own careless words had just become the most potent weapon that would ultimately destroy them. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the room shifted subtly but undeniably. The air, already heavy, grew even denser, and the conspirators' whispers, once free-flowing, slowed, becoming hesitant. A palpable sense of unease, like a cold draft, crept over the group. One conspirator, mid-sentence, abruptly stopped talking, their eyes narrowing, fingers beginning to tap nervously on the table. Something was unmistakably off. The once confident, almost gleeful gathering now felt exposed, vulnerable, as if an unseen predatory presence was watching their every move. Nervous glances darted around the room, scanning the deepest shadows, and a subtle unsettling tension took hold, a silent alarm bell ringing in their minds. Had they been too careless? Had someone against all odds overheard? Faces flickered with doubt, but no one dared to voice their burgeoning fears, not wanting to give them more substance. The silence that followed was thick and suffocating, saying everything words couldn't. Another conspirator shifted uneasily in their seat, cleared their throat, and stole another furtive glance at the closed doorway. Was it just paranoia, the usual jitters of a secret meeting, or had they truly been discovered? Perhaps someone wasn't supposed to be there at all, a mistake, a strange coincidence, or a cruel twist of fate. But either way, that hidden observer was in the wrong place at the right time, or perhaps for the conspirators, the right place at the worst possible moment. Hidden in the shadows, silent and utterly still, barely breathing so as not to betray their presence. The observer wasn't even trying to eavesdrop, it just happened. They weren't actively looking for trouble, but trouble, in its most insidious form, had a way of finding them. Every whisper, every named individual, every meticulously crafted scheme spoken into the stagnant, charged air suddenly took on a heavy, terrifying meaning. The full, chilling realization hit hard. This wasn't harmless office gossip or petty workplace politics. This was genuinely dangerous, a threat that extended far beyond mere inconvenience or professional rivalry. A critical, life-altering decision loomed. Stay silent and pretend they never heard a thing, walking away and letting the nefarious plot unfold unchecked, or step forward and expose everything, risking becoming the next target in the conspirators' cold, precise game. The first real sign of trouble came quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. A knock at the door, softer than expected. A phone call with a subtly probing, unsettling question, or a colleague looking at them with just a little too much suspicion in their eyes. One conspirator felt it in their gut first, a strange, prickling awareness that something fundamental had shifted, that the game had changed. What once felt like a thrilling, low-stakes game of chess, played in the shadows, was suddenly fraught with terrifying personal risk. The room seemed colder, the faces around them more distant, their eyes holding a new, unspoken fear. They exchanged quick, nervous glances, picking up on the new tension, but none dared voice their fears aloud, for fear of making them more real. Meetings that used to be routine, easily scheduled, suddenly became difficult to arrange, fraught with unspoken anxieties. People they once controlled, people who had been their pawns, now seemed less cooperative, more distant, and quick to end conversations. A creeping paranoia began to set in as the group tried desperately to contact one another. Calls went unanswered, messages were ignored, left on read, and the easy, confident flow of communication they had always relied on dried up overnight, replaced by a terrifying silence. A palpable sense of panic spread like wildfire among them. Someone knew the truth, and the walls were closing in fast, inexorably. They frantically retraced their steps, re-examined the details of their secret meetings, wondering who could have betrayed their trust or overheard what should have been kept absolutely secret. They second-guessed every careless word, every confident action, every person who might have been nearby even for a moment. What they didn't realize, in their arrogance, was that their greatest mistake was underestimating you, your inherent resilience, your unwavering integrity, and your quiet ability to inspire loyalty in those around you. Their next mistake was thinking that secrets whispered in the deepest darkness could never see the light of day, and their final, most fatal mistake was believing that they had endless time to manipulate, deceive and destroy. In truth, their time had run out the very moment the report was filed, the second the first call was made. The case now had a life of its own, an unstoppable momentum. The evidence was piling up, a mountain of undeniable proof. The pressure was mounting from all sides, and the conspirators' entire carefully constructed world was beginning to unravel, piece by agonizing piece. For the first time, they were not the ones pulling the strings, they were the ones being hunted. The ingrained sense of invulnerability they had always relied on, that feeling of being beyond reproach, was gone, utterly replaced by raw fear and knowing uncertainty. As the investigation deepened, they would soon learn that every secret, no matter how deeply buried, eventually surfaces. Every wrong finds its reckoning, and the shadows they once hid in could no longer offer protection. The truth was coming for them, and nothing, absolutely nothing, could stop it now. The whispers that had once felt so safe and controlled now echoed with dread in the minds of the conspirators. Their elaborate plan, crafted in secrecy with meticulous care and unshakable confidence, now felt exposed, brittle, and terrifyingly fragile. A single knowing question haunted each of them, burrowing deep into their thoughts. Had they really been alone all along in that dimly lit room? Or had someone, an uninvited, unseen guest, slipped in unnoticed, listening to every single damning word? The more they replayed those secret meetings in their minds, dissecting every moment, the more the fear grew, a cold, creeping dread. Maybe they'd missed a fleeting shadow moving in the corner, a stray, anomalous noise in the hallway, a seemingly harmless presence they had simply dismissed without a second thought. What had once seemed utterly impossible now felt all too likely, and the comfort of their former certainty was brutally replaced by a rising tide of consuming paranoia. Day by day the anxiety mounted, becoming almost unbearable. The group became hyper-aware of their surroundings, every fiber of their being on edge. Every crowded elevator, every shared hallway, every unexpected glance in the break room became a potential threat, a sign of impending doom. They started actively avoiding public places, speaking only in hushed, guarded tones, scrutinizing the intentions of colleagues and strangers alike with intense suspicion. Conversations at work, once casual and effortless, now felt strained, forced, and laden with unspoken tension. Everyone was on edge, convinced that people were whispering behind their backs or keeping a careful, watchful eye on their movements. Each look seemed suspicious, every offhand comment packed with hidden, dangerous meaning. The sense of safety they had taken for granted for so long was now utterly gone. In its place was an ever-present, suffocating suspicion, a constant reminder of their precarious position. The group imploded under the sheer, unyielding weight of the investigation. Alliances fractured beyond repair, and former partners, once bound by shared malice, turned viciously on each other, eager to save themselves at any cost, even if it meant destroying their co-conspirators. It was a truly pitiful sight, watching people who had so long prided themselves on their absolute control, their cunning, now clawing desperately for mercy, their dignity utterly gone. The careers they had so carefully built, the reputations they had guarded so fiercely, and cultivated with such effort, were now reduced to rubble, shattered beyond repair. Their names, once associated with influence, power, and prestige, were now a stark warning, a permanent stain that would never be forgotten. But the reckoning went deeper than mere professional ruin. Some conspirators lost not just their jobs and standing in the community, but their families, their friendships, and even their precious freedom. The law, impartial and unyielding, was not interested in their belated excuses or how much they regretted getting caught. Justice was moving forward with relentless force, and it would not rest until every last trace of their corrupt empire was completely dismantled. They had set out with cold intent to destroy you, believing they could effortlessly break your spirit and ruin your future. But in a cruel twist of fate, it was their own destruction they had meticulously orchestrated. In the courtroom, a hush fell, broken only by the judge's clear, resonant voice delivering the verdict. Guilty. The word echoed with chilling finality. For some, the shock was too much to bear. They gasped, buried their heads in their hands, or stared straight ahead, numb and uncomprehending. Others simply wept, tears of despair, not remorse. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could change the brutal reality that had now been made public. Sentencing came swiftly, cold, and unsparing. Some were hit with crushing fines that would ruin them financially. Some were fired with public disgrace, their careers ending in ignominy, and the most guilty among them faced prison bars, years of lost freedom stretching endlessly before them. For so long, they had believed that what they did in the shadows would never, could never, come to light. But the law, the very force they had mocked and evaded, is built to thrive in the open, to expose hidden truths. The truth, once uncovered, exposed not just this single, isolated plot, but a whole pervasive pattern, a long, dark history of manipulating, using, and hurting people for their own selfish, personal gain. Old victims, emboldened by the ongoing investigation and the promise of justice, stepped forward bravely to tell their stories. Adding to the avalanche of damning evidence, investigators found even more than anyone expected: a sprawling network of lies that had quietly shaped and negatively impacted the lives of dozens, even hundreds, of people. This was never just about you. You were only the latest, but critically, the last, in a long dark line of targets. The system that had let them get away with it for so long was finally being torn down, brick by painful brick. With each conviction, their power was stripped away, prestigious titles revoked, ill-gotten assets seized, hard-won reputations shattered into irreparable fragments. The very things they valued most in life were now gone, replaced by public scorn and, in some cases, outright ridicule. People who had once been afraid to even whisper about them now laughed openly at their downfall, their terror replaced by derision. The once mighty voices that had commanded respect and instilled fear now pleaded for leniency and understanding. But no one was listening. Mercy, if it ever existed for them, was long gone, squandered by their own actions. Every action has consequences, and every lie has an expiration date. Justice, impartial and unyielding, is not interested in apologies made out of desperation. It demands accountability. They thought they would bury you, make you a mere footnote in their triumphant story. But in the end, their own schemes inadvertently dug their graves. No matter how carefully they planned, how many years they spent getting away with it, the truth was always searching for a way out, always straining to break free, and it finally found it. Their arrogance was their ultimate undoing. They believed they were invincible, beyond suspicion, beyond the reach of justice. But someone was always watching, always listening, quietly observing. Sometimes, it's just a single pivotal moment, a silent witness, a careless word, a fleeting trace of arrogance, that sets the whole illusion crashing down. Justice does not require noise or spectacle. It simply requires proof, and proof never fades or forgets. The real reason they targeted you wasn't your weakness, as they mistakenly believed. It was your strength. They saw a power within you, a light they couldn't control, or more importantly, snuff out. They tried so desperately to destroy you, because your very existence, your inherent integrity, exposed their own emptiness and profound fear. But real power is never built on manipulation or deceit. It comes from standing resolutely in the light, from holding to truth, even when everything feels stacked against you, even when the odds seem insurmountable. In the end, the very things they attempted to use against you became the keys to their undoing. Your name, your story, your unwavering spirit became the undeniable evidence that brought them down. Their whispered threats, meant to intimidate and control, became their own confessions, echoing in public for all to hear and sealing their fate. Their arrogance, once their shield, became the snare that finally caught them, binding them within the tangled web of lies they had spun. What they designed for your downfall transformed into your greatest proof of strength, your unshakable victory. Justice moved in silence, yet with unstoppable force, unveiling every hidden truth they swore would remain buried. The light always finds a way through. The truth endures, long after the lie has crumbled. If this story resonated with you, please like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking narratives. Your support keeps these stories alive. If you'd like to help further, consider buying us a coffee through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below.